Let's start our first news with a prediction that could set up one of the biggest UFC fights imaginable. Bisping has shared his thoughts on the future of Jon Jones, confidently predicting that the heavyweight legend could return to the octagon before the end of the year to face Alex Pereira. According to Bisping, the timing could be perfect. With the UFC entering its highly publicized Paramount era and attracting a huge wave of new fans, he believes Jones may have a fresh motivation to step back into the cage and take on another massive superstar. Pereira is also looking to move forward after his recent setbacks, and Bisping believes a fight against Jones would still be absolutely gigantic. In fact, he sees it as the kind of matchup Pereira has wanted for a long time. Of course, there is another major storyline surrounding Jones. Reports from Alexander Usyk's camp previously suggested that Jones could potentially be considered for the boxing legend's final professional fight. However, Jones has made his position clear. If that crossover ever happens, he wants it under MMA rules, not boxing rules. Bisping also pointed out the strange similarities between Jones and Tom Aspinall. Jones previously faced criticism for not accepting the fight with Aspinall, while Aspinall is now moving forward against Cyril Gane. According to Bisping, history appears to be repeating itself. He believes both Aspinall and Jones are currently waiting for the right fight to be offered. As for the potential return, Bisping suggested that a massive event could take place around November, possibly at Madison Square Garden or the T-Mobile Arena. If everything falls into place, fans could be looking at a huge showdown between Jon Jones and Alex Pereira before the year is over. Move on to another news, as Alex Volkanovski has officially revealed that he is open to moving up to 155 pounds for a potential showdown with Justin Gaethje. The former featherweight champion made it clear that if the UFC offered him the opportunity to compete for the lightweight championship, he would absolutely consider accepting it. Volkanovski explained that he has never been the type of fighter to simply demand opportunities. Instead, he believes champions should earn their chances. He pointed to his own career as proof, noting that he defended his featherweight title multiple times before eventually asking for the opportunity to become a double champion. After losing his belt, Volkanovski rebuilt himself, secured another victory over Lopez, and put himself back into position for another title opportunity. That's why he believes fighters should follow the same path and earn their way to the top. However, when it comes to a potential fight against Gaethje, Volkanovski admitted he would have no hesitation if the UFC came calling. He even seemed excited by the idea of seeing two experienced 38-year-old veterans collide in the lightweight division. According to Volkanovski, he would be 100% ready to accept that challenge. At the same time, he acknowledged that Arman could still be next in line. But Volkanovski also suggested that fighters who don't always do what the UFC wants, or who aren't viewed as being company-friendly, can sometimes find themselves being punished for it. That comment immediately adds another layer of intrigue to the lightweight title picture. For now, Volkanovski isn't demanding the matchup, but his message is crystal clear. If the UFC offers him a shot at Gaethje and the lightweight championship, he is ready to step up and compete at 155 pounds. Move on to another news, as Henry Cejudo has urged Kamaru Usman to make a return to the welterweight division and take on the dangerous Carlos Prates. Cejudo believes Usman should drop back down to 170 pounds and test himself against the surging knockout artist. He even suggested that Prates would be honored to share the cage with a former champion and one of the greatest welterweights of all time. However, Usman quickly made it clear that he has no interest in accepting the matchup unless there is something major on the line. Usman admitted that he has a lot of respect for Prates and even called him one of his favorite fighters to watch right now. He said he would be honored to share the cage with him, but only if the fight comes with an undisputed UFC title opportunity. For Usman, taking on a dangerous knockout artist like Prates without a championship at stake simply doesn't make sense for his legacy. He also doesn't want to be the fighter who potentially prevents Prates from getting a title shot. But Usman was also brutally honest about another reason behind his decision. he jokingly admitted that there is a small voice in the back of his mind telling him he doesn't want to get beat up by Prates if there isn't a title on the line. The former champion's future remains uncertain. It's still unclear whether he will continue competing at middleweight or eventually return to 170 pounds. Meanwhile, many fans are calling for Usman to make the move back down to welterweight. His impressive performance against Joaquin Buckley has given supporters plenty of confidence that he can still compete with the division's elite. For now, though, a fight with Prates appears to be off the table unless a UFC title is at stake. Move on to another news, as Bryce Mitchell has launched a brutal attack on Garry, making it clear that while he still enjoys watching Garry compete, he can no longer stand listening to him speak. Mitchell recently shared his thoughts on social media, saying that he would continue watching every single one of Garry's fights, but he simply cannot bear to listen to his interviews anymore. He then explained his reasons by laying out what he called 3 strikes against Garry. The first came from Garry's comments about Neil Magny and a previous incident involving Mitchell's teammate. Mitchell strongly disagreed with Garry's remarks and criticized the way he spoke about the situation. The second issue was even more serious in Mitchell's eyes. He took offense to Garry's views about women, family roles, and leadership inside the household. Mitchell argued that men should be the leaders and protectors of the family, while women have a different role as nurturers. Mitchell's third complaint was about something far more ordinary. He mocked Garry for previously talking about cleaning gutters and complaining that his hands and fingernails became dirty from touching old leaves and moss. For Mitchell, that was simply part of doing a job. He pointed out that he has worked difficult and dirty jobs himself, even joking that he has been covered in cow manure without complaining about it. Despite all the criticism, Mitchell made one thing very clear. He still respects Garry as a fighter. In fact, Mitchell admitted that he enjoys watching Garry compete and has watched every one of his fights. However, when it comes to interviews, Mitchell says he is done. After what he considers 3 major strikes, he has decided that he will continue watching Garry fight, but he won't be tuning in to hear him talk anymore. Move on to another news, as Demetrious Johnson has given his prediction on a potential matchup between Sean O'Malley and Corey Sandhagen, and according to him, O'Malley could have the advantage. Johnson acknowledged that many fans were hoping to see O'Malley face Sandhagen at the White House card, but that matchup never happened. Instead, O'Malley ended up fighting Ayman Zahabi. However, after watching O'Malley's recent performance, Johnson explained why he believes the former champion could potentially defeat Sandhagen. In Johnson's opinion, O'Malley has a very special quality that makes him difficult to beat. He believes that if an opponent isn't willing to physically overwhelm O'Malley and constantly pressure him, they may struggle to win. Johnson used Merab as an example. He believes that if Merab and O'Malley fought 10 times, Merab could potentially win all 10 because of his relentless pace and willingness to push forward, grapple, and force his opponent into uncomfortable positions. According to Johnson, Merab simply works harder than O'Malley and has the style needed to neutralize his strengths. But Johnson doesn't believe Sandhagen has the same approach. He pointed to Sandhagen's fight against Mario Bautista, arguing that Sandhagen sometimes becomes too technical inside the cage. Instead of simply fighting instinctively, Johnson believes Sandhagen can become overly focused on creating the perfect opportunity. He described Sandhagen's approach as constantly thinking about switching stances, creating angles, moving in different directions, and searching for the perfect shot. For Johnson, that's where the potential problem lies. Against someone as dangerous and unpredictable as O'Malley, constantly looking for the perfect opening could give O'Malley the time and space he needs to find his own opportunities. Johnson's argument is essentially that O'Malley's style could create problems for Sandhagen, especially if Sandhagen allows himself to become too technical instead of simply engaging and forcing the action. Of course, Johnson still believes Merab has the perfect style to defeat O'Malley because of his relentless pressure and grappling ability. But when it comes to O'Malley versus Sandhagen, Johnson appears to favor O'Malley, believing his unique skill set and unpredictable striking could ultimately be enough to get the job done. Move on to another news, as a potentially exciting matchup is reportedly being lined up for UFC 331 on September 19th. According to reports, Renato Moicano could be facing Brian Ortega in what would be a fascinating clash between two experienced fighters looking to make a statement. Moicano enters the potential matchup with some momentum after securing a second-round submission victory over Chris Duncan. That win was especially important for him, considering he had previously suffered back-to-back defeats and needed a strong performance to get his career moving in the right direction again. Now, Moicano could have the opportunity to build on that victory against one of the most experienced featherweights in the UFC. On the other side, Ortega is entering the potential fight with plenty to prove. The former title challenger is currently riding a two-fight losing streak, with his most recent setback coming against Aljamain Sterling. Ortega suffered a unanimous decision loss to Sterling last summer, making his next appearance inside the octagon extremely important. For Ortega, another defeat could create serious questions about where he stands among the division's elite. But if he can return to the win column against a dangerous opponent like Moicano, it could completely change the momentum of his career. Meanwhile, Moicano will be looking to prove that his recent submission victory was the beginning of a new chapter. Both fighters have plenty of experience at the highest level, and both have something significant to prove. Moicano wants to continue building momentum, while Ortega desperately needs to stop his losing streak. If the matchup is officially confirmed, UFC 331 could feature a very intriguing battle between two skilled and experienced competitors, with both men entering the fight under completely different circumstances, but with the same goal: getting their hand raised and making a statement. Move on to another news, as Merab has once again made it clear that his rivalry with Umar is far from over. Despite already defeating Umar by unanimous decision, Merab still appears to have some very strong feelings toward his former opponent. The two fighters have developed one of the more intense rivalries in the bantamweight division, and it seems the bad blood hasn't disappeared with time. During a recent conversation, Merab was asked if there was any fighter in the UFC he genuinely couldn't stand. His answer was immediate. According to Merab, there is one fighter he simply hates, and that fighter is Umar. Merab didn't hold back when describing how he feels. He called Umar a spoiled baby, making it clear that his dislike isn't simply competitive trash talk. The rivalry between the two fighters became especially heated before their matchup, with both men carrying plenty of confidence into the octagon. Merab ultimately managed to secure the unanimous decision victory, using his relentless pace and wrestling-heavy approach to neutralize Umar's dangerous skill set. But even after winning the fight, Merab's opinion of Umar hasn't changed. When he was asked if there was someone in the UFC he would never want to see again, the answer was once again the same fighter: Umar. That makes it clear that, at least from Merab's perspective, the rivalry remains personal. For now, the two fighters are on separate paths, but their history continues to generate plenty of attention among MMA fans. A rematch could always become a possibility if both men continue winning and eventually find themselves competing for the same championship. Until then, Merab's message is simple. He already beat Umar inside the octagon, but when it comes to his personal feelings, there is clearly no love lost between the two fighters.